Hey, I'm Dean and this is Legacy Voyage. In Season 1, I'm documenting my journey to earning my first 100K net worth as a full-time college student. Join me as I share some of the lessons I learned along the way.
Yesterday, I broke a huge false belief of mine that I kept thinking was true. It was happening in this class. I'm super interested in philosophy. This class that I'm taking, it's basically like a philosophy of work class. So we're talking about what is work? What does work mean? What constitutes work? If you look at someone, why can you say that person is working as opposed to another person? Like one of the examples that we brought up was something about like social media. For example, if you take someone like Charlie D'Amelio doing her TikTok dances, would you say that's work? Because she's putting in these hours from putting in those, or let's say even if it was just minutes, from the minutes that she spends doing TikTok dances, she gets money from it. So would you say that's work? And as I was sitting in the class, I was trying to brainstorm and wrestle with the idea, what is work? What defines work? And I think I have a definition. It might change in the future, but this is what I'm going off of right now. Work is finishing tasks. That's all work is. Because if you really think about it, or at least in my perspective, when my family calls and I'm doing homework and they ask me, "Oh, what are you doing?" I would say I'm working. And that's one example of where you could be working without getting any compensation or any money from it. So I really do think work is just finishing tasks. That's all it is. And there's a couple different ways to look at work. First of all, is a generational difference where older folks might look at work differently than younger folks. You could also look at that in the past, whereas now we would look back in the past and look at something that they might consider work, whereas in the opposite, if they look at something we do now, they might not consider something we do now as work. But the one thing that I think is most important is the difference now. It's the difference between shallow work and deep work. So if work just means accomplishing tasks, I think deep work just means focusing and completing cognitively demanding tasks. That's kind of a long-winded way of saying it. I'm sure in the future I might have a simpler definition, but that's what I'm going off of now. Deep work is focusing, cognitively demanding tasks, whereas shallow work is lazy completing tasks. Something like that. But another thing we talked about in this class, and this was the big moment where I broke my belief. And it was the definition on season of learning. Because I've always hold this belief of you will either be in a season of learning or season of earning. And I've always thought that if you're in a season of learning, you have to forego money. You can't make any money. But I mean, even right now, in my VC internship, my venture internship, they're paying me to learn. So I don't think a season of learning means that you have to forego any money that you can get. But what I do think it means is prioritizing learning over earning. So let's say you're trying to decide between two jobs. They both pay you the same amount of money. When you're in a season of learning, you choose the one that you think will teach you more skills, will teach you more experience. But if you take that even further, even if you're deciding between two jobs, one pays more and then the other pays less, I think you'd probably want to take the one that pays you less if they will teach you way more than the other. And I think that was one of the big things that I learned yesterday. Man, for the life update, I've been doing things. I'm deep diving into a whole bunch of projects for internships and stuff. And then really trying to get organized on schoolwork too, because I got a couple classes that I got to finish up. But really, the name of the game is just time management, I think. So I feel like that's one of the things that I've really honed down on lately is definitely the time management part. Google Calendar is a huge life hack, I must say. And another side note, one of my classes today was with a professor. His name is David Stoll. Man's literally wrote the book on private equity and investment banking. That's what the class is called. He was literally talking about how his book is like number 3 in the world of finance. Whole bunch of colleges and universities study his book. And he's had a huge background like Goldman Sachs. Talking about how USB gave him like $3 billion to go and build out their investment banking arm leg thing, something like that. It was actually wild learning about this. I feel like it was low key dropping. He was low key dropping like subtle bragging stuff, but it was so crazy that this guy is up in front of me teaching the class, talking about he has a flight to catch in right after class, going back to Park City where he lives in Utah. Man's literally flies from Evanston Illinois to Park City, Utah, just to come teach class. That's wild to me. I don't watch boxing, but there was this huge epiphany that someone else had when they were watching boxing. I thought it was so good that I had to share it. And he had this epiphany. He was watching a match. It was by Tank and Garcia. At the very end of the match, the results came in, and they were looking at the statistics. And what they saw from the stats of the fight is that Garcia threw 400, 500 punches, and Tank only threw 100 punches. But at the very end, Tank is the one who won by knockout. And that was a really cool thing about this fight. So he was looking at that and he saw how important the defense was as opposed to the offense. And so it really got me thinking, we were talking, going back and forth. It really opened my eyes up to how it can be applied to everything. Now, first of all, let's break it down. What I'm talking about right now is applying the ideas of offense and defense to something like financial planning. And when I'm saying offense and defense, all it means is your tolerance for risk. If you're playing offensively, then that's a very high tolerance of risk. If you're playing defensively, it's very low tolerance of risk. Now, personally, right now, I don't think one is better than the other necessarily. I think both are actually really important. And it really just depends on you. Like going back to financial planning, when you're super young, you probably have a higher tolerance of risk, meaning you're playing more offensively as you're young. But when you grow older, that's when you start investing into safer investments, safer vehicles, securities. And so that's where you're playing defensively with low tolerance of risk. But you could also apply it to boxing, to sports, to investing. Like, for example, what he was talking about, he was explaining to me his whole idea, his whole life plan as of right now. And he's saying that he's going and he's working his regular everyday 9 to 5. That 9 to 5 is really just his defensive play. It's really just to gain experience, network with cool people, build up a track record before he eventually delivers a knockout punch. And he's playing offensively by building up startups on the side, building up AI businesses on the side. And that's where he's going offensively. And his whole end goal with this, his whole idea, is to try to break into venture. And that was the huge epiphany that I had today in that conversation. I got to think a lot more about it for sure. One thing that came to my mind immediately was Pascal's wager, where he was trying to play defensively when talking about believing in God. He said, it's better to hedge your bets towards believing in God, given that at the very end, you probably have this huge upside and no downside. Now, of course, Pascal's wager, it's not perfect, but it's just something that came to mind where I was figuring out how I could apply this type of framework, this way of thinking to different to different fields of study. That was one that immediately came to mind, which I thought was super interesting. So I'll definitely think more about this stuff in the future. But for the life update, today was awesome. The biggest thing I did today was I had a meeting. He runs the entrepreneurship community at Northwestern. At Northwestern, it's called the Garage. This is just a community of entrepreneurs who want to go and do big things. And one of the programs that they have is called residency. Now, this is one of their more tougher programs to get into. I think the lowest one is called a tinker. That's where you really just have the beginnings of an idea and you haven't really sent it all the way. And then the next is this residency program. Now, the biggest thing, the biggest reason why I really wanted to get involved with this is to surround myself with a group of people who want to do cool things. That was really all it is. Even just today with meeting with Mike and my boy Brylan. I'm definitely gonna do something with Brylan in the future. He's a really cool dude. And we actually just completely hit it off the first time we met each other. Actually, Brylan is the one who I got that offense and defense framework from. Because he's the one who watched the fight. He's into watching boxing and stuff. He told me that I was like, bro, I gotta write that down. But meeting cool people like him out there, that'll be so sick, man. But that's the big life update for today. Is that I found out that I got into the residency program. Man, there's a whole story behind that too. Like I'll tell it right now, real quick. At first, I didn't want to do it because it wasn't the big idea that I really wanted to pursue. Like it's not the next Amazon or the next Apple idea, the $1 billion idea. But it's a starting point, is what I thought of it was, is like it's just failing forward. And so it's something that I built a website and stuff, and made a couple posts on LinkedIn. I really had the whole thing up and running in like 2 days. And so after I did all that, I decided, you know what? I really want to go into the garage. So what idea could I bring to the garage that that could help me get into this residency program to meet cool people? So it's called Nesian. Talked about this earlier, but it's one of the ideas I had. So I did that, filled out the application. Now there were two questions on the application that really got me. The first one was, "What's the biggest achievement that you've had in your startup?" I was like, "Bro, I don't know. Like, I barely even started this thing. I don't have any numbers. I got like 10 subscribers to the thing. Like, it's really nothing. There's nothing to show for it." But I come up with, okay, I can go off of impressions because I made a couple of LinkedIn posts about some success stories. And I was like, okay, I'll go off of that. Let's talk that up. Now, the next question was, who else at Northwestern is working on this project? Because I think one of the other requirements is that you have to be working on it with someone else. The only issue was that no one else was working on it. It was literally just me flying solo. And I'm talking with them and interviewing with them, and they asked me the question like, "Who else is working on it with you?" And I just I just put down my rugby captain because I'm super chill with him. He's also an islander. He's Indonesian, and I thought his skill set would be really good. He's a really good leader too. So I put them down. I never told him about it. That was the thing, is that I was interviewing them, talking about, "Oh yeah, there's another guy that I have on the team, and we're gonna go out and build this together." When the other guy has no idea that I'm doing this at all. And so I find out, go through the whole interview thing. Later today, I found out that I got accepted. So I was like, okay, now I actually have to tell him, see if he's even on board with this stuff. So we grabbed lunch. I was talking with him. Yeah, he was sold on the idea. So me and him, we're gonna do something big, man. Don't know what, but it'll be big. Run some ideas and see where everything leads to. But that's the big life update for today. The big epiphany that I had today too. Just wanted to super quickly talk about a big thing I learned today in private equity. It's the reason why roll-ups are so common. What roll-ups are is, say I go out and I buy 5 assisted living homes. I buy them, roll them up together, and then make them one business, one company. And that's what a roll-up is. The reason why it's so good is because there's this thing called multiple arbitrage. So usually when you buy a business, you buy it on a multiple. Let's say, for example, I have no idea what it is, but a multiple on a residential assisted home is something like 5x. Let's say it's 5x. So if it's 5x and you buy more and more of them, and eventually you have 10 homes. Well, once you buy your 11th home, you can buy a new one for 5x, but now it's automatically worth like 10x because it's a part of all the other companies. And that's what multiple arbitrage is. Now, the reason why I learned about it is because one of the search funds is trying to do a roll up of clinical research sites. And the other one is probably going to try to come at the same angle, but with dental practices. And as he was walking me through this, I was like, this is huge because you could do this with any business. And that's why I got so excited over it. So the life update, first day in the garage, moved in, got the desk and everything. I'm actually really excited because I'm not sure if I'm gonna go full throttle with niche or if I'm gonna pivot to a new idea, but I'm just excited to meet people. Like even today, I met some cool people. One dude who's running a AI newsletter business called The Neuron. Another dude running a film production company. Like all these cool people in that spot. I'm excited to meet him. Super excited. Oh yeah, and I also met half Samoan PhD student today. That's really cool. I record these episodes completely free to share success with everyone. So the only thing I ask is that if you learned anything or found something interesting in this episode, just leave a review and share it with a friend. Only takes 5 seconds and it would mean the world. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. Tatok, see you.